If there's one natural resource that is just super abundant right now, it's anger. It's everywhere. People are angry about everything. Some with good cause, others because they were told by somebody else they should be angry about something that they just don't understand. And they're just playing along because they want to be part of the team. There's so many reasons to be angry. But if we don't use that anger for something better, then it's just going to eat us up. Anger is like a fire that burns deep down in the soul. And if you don't give it something to consume, it will consume you. Believe me, I'm speaking from experience here. There is a art to anger. There's an art to righteous rage and indignation. Let's discuss that art today as we walk together down Creation's paths. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I am a Christopagan druid and priest of Brigid.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan druid and sous chef to the Dagda.
For some people, this is going to feel like an odd episode for this podcast because they're like, wait, are you always about compassion and love? And yes, and anger plays a role in that. The problem is when anger is misused, when anger is allowed to run wild and become a wildfire in its own right, then it is a dangerous, terrible thing. Anger is like the fire of the soul. When properly kept in a hearth or a candle, it can do amazing and wonderful things. When it's put into a forge, it can build amazing things. When left to its own devices, entire cities can burn down. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, how to control our anger. And by control it, I don't necessarily mean make it go away, to put it to work so that it is actually doing something for us. Because yes, there are ways to manage our anger. We are human and we will never make it entirely go away. So don't trust people that tell you that you can. Well, before we get into all that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever app you're listening to us on. We do 5 original Christopagan and Druid episodes Monday through Friday, and you don't want to miss anything because we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. All right, let's just get into it.
Me being me, I want to propose that we start playing with the pop culture Star Wars reference and then get into the much more applicable metaphor of fire and flame, because I really do like fire and flame, but I'm me and I got to start with Star Wars. Fear, anger, hatred. These are the tools of the dark side, the tools of the Sith. And
Yeah.
so the first reaction is we're not supposed to be using the tools of the dark side. So righteous anger, how do then, or should even play with this?
See,
And-
Yoda actually answers your question.
Yeah, he does. How? Tell me more.
No, this is within the story. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And 100%, I agree with that. We are supposed to be people who operate love out of love, and true love casts out fear.
Yep.
And I really do believe that. So one, our anger should never be rooted in fear because
Never.
we are always operating out of love. Our anger, if we do have it, should be rooted in love. And that is a different kind of anger. That is righteous anger. That is righteous indignation. Fear creates a defensive kind of anger, a reactive kind of anger, the kind of anger that lashes out instinctively. We're going to be talking a lot about how to sublimate our instincts today because we're not trained to act out of fear, out of that instinct. And also that next line from Yoda there, and fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate. We're not here to hate anyone. Remember, Jesus said that if you go to the altar and you remember that you have hate in your heart against anyone, put down your offering and then go make it right with that person and then come back.
And that's the thing too, like when you're on a path, right? When you're walking a path, you have a start, a middle, and a finish. So if you're concerned that your anger is a path of evil or dark side or Sith or however you want to reference that, look at the beginning and look at the end. If fear and hatred are the other 2 points on that path, if your anger is going to result in hatred or is resulting in hatred, if that's the fruit that's starting to bear out of your anger, you're on a bad path. Get off of it.
Or change the source that's feeding it. There are a lot of news stories that I have initial reactions to, that I have like immediate ooh and like fire, anger. but that's
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm reacting to the news story. This is, I think, the hardest thing for us to do. And one of the most valuable tools for us as people is to learn how to never react, to be able to hold your tongue, hold your breath, and create an action rather than a reaction. Because if you're always reacting, that which you're reacting to is in control. This is why people who do bad things do a lot of bad things, because they're trying to get you off your footing and doing nothing but reacting to them. Because when you're doing nothing but react to them, they are in control. They have already won. And the only way to break that cycle is to stop reacting and to start taking action. Now, when I say this, I am not speaking in a legal sort of way, because I think some people are going to try to take me out of context. Yes, if somebody does something legal, it is technically a reaction to them to file a lawsuit or what have you. Yes, but that's a different thing. If there's emotion in law, you did it wrong, because law is a weird thing of arguments and personalities. Yeah, you're not quite doing it quite right if you're bringing that kind of emotion over there. I'm talking more about activism and how we deal with things in our regular lives. So by pushing and changing the narrative, I can be angry about what Israel is doing. And that can either be out of fear for the people that they are bombing. That could be out of just disgust at the complete lack of any kind of morality or ethics in the actions that they're taking. But if I am working from a place of love for the victims of their hate, that is something that is an empowering source for the fire. That is something that is an empowering source to keep me moving forward. I can be angry, I can be afraid, I can be disgusted by the way that the right wing is attacking trans people and queer people. But if I act instead out of my love for trans and queer people, I have a sustainable source that will keep me going. I'm no longer reliant on them continuing to make me angry to have that fuel source. And I am not under their authority. I'm breaking myself free from their systemic control because I am not reacting just to what they are doing. And that is the first step in all of this, is to change the fuel that's being fed into the fire. If you only have anger when lightning strikes, you are a servant to the storm. You need to make sure that this is coming from a place of justice, a place of love, a place of truth that you can honor deep down within, and that fire will just keep burning. But that's step number one. And that's how you keep from going to the dark side, to be honest.
That's why I like the flame metaphor when looking at this.
Yeah.
As a nice way to understand it. It's like with an automobile. You could use nitrous to give yourself a quick boost to move forward, but if you try to run on it for too long, you're just going to melt the engine.
Yeah.
And the car will be ruined.
So how do you actually hone this? There's a couple things that you need to do to actually make your righteous anger matter. And they're hard. Like this first step is really hard because it's removing yourself from that reaction. And I'm not saying it's wrong to react. We are human. Do not punish yourself for having a reaction. There are times when I watch the news and erupt like a volcano.
This is part of that living in right relationship with yourself. It's recognizing, accepting that I am human and these reactions are part of the natural process, but I'm also not a victim of it. I am not under its authority. That I still have choice in this.
What's important is taking that step. I allow myself to have that moment internally. I sometimes will say something in the privacy of my own home. I try not to share that form of anger out loud in public or on social media, which is also in public, by the way. And I think some people forget that sometimes.
Yeah, very much. Being a chef, I like to remind people, like, when you're on social media, it's like you're in a very crowded cafe. Anybody can come and go and anybody can hear your conversation. It is not private. You're saying it out loud in a cafe of people.
So after you've been able to take that moment to regroup, you've made sure that you're coming from a good place of justice and love. Like, that anger is still going to be brewing. Rehearse what you're going to do. Rehearse when you're not angry. This is really important. And it sounds counterintuitive. Why would I rehearse to be angry? Because if somebody is going after a particular group, like they're doing with the deportations, you can anticipate the talking points that are going to be used against you. or against them. You can anticipate what the other side, go back to our episode on the other side that we did a while back, if you want more information about that and what we're talking about there. But you can anticipate what the other side is going to say by rehearsing your arguments. Me and my friends group do this all the time, where one of us will play devil's advocate. We will have intense debates with each other that an outsider would probably think that we're arguing, that we're fighting.
Yeah.
But we are rehearsing, we are practicing, and one of us is entering the mindset of somebody truly on the other side and trying to use the talking points that we know are going to be used against us, trying to find holes in the arguments that we are using. They're really trying to pick it apart so that we can hone and refine. Remember, anger is a fire. This is where you're using it as a forge. You're making the rhetorical weapons that you're going to then take out into the world. So when you know that a certain group is being targeted by something, or a certain bad action is likely to happen or is happening, and that you need to make a response to it, preparing ahead of time is one of the best ways to do this. Now, you have to be careful, because if you're just preparing talking points, this is where I think the left get it wrong, and the right as well, but they're more disciplined. So it tends to work, because if you're on a more conservative bent, you generally just fall into line anyway. But if you're just reciting the same thing over and over again, it doesn't have the same impact. If you're just reciting something, it doesn't often have the emotional flourish that it needs to have to actually get the point across, which is why a lot of politicians, especially, sound just dead and weak, passionless, because they have rehearsed the talking points and they're reciting a script, but they're not connected to it. This is why, like I said, my friends and I do these mock debates with each other, because in that, I can't say the same thing over and over again. One, I will get bored saying the same thing over and over again. I have to internalize those talking points. I have to internalize those facts so that I can say them naturally in my own voice, in my own tone, and mix and match them and be able to say the right thing to actually push back on any of the arguments that are being used against.
And the most impactful thing of all is you can then say that in a way that fits the personal context and interests of the individual that you're speaking with. Because they're going to hear that so much more, because that's personal vested interest at that point.
It's really important.
I like to think of this part of the process as like you're forging that mechanism on the cutting torch that focuses the flame. When you think of a cutting torch, when you first watch a video or something of somebody using it or see them use it, they first spark that flame, and it's wild flame, and then you turn the knob and it focuses and focuses it until that flame is so focused it literally cuts metal. And that mechanism is what you're helping to create, so that when you're in those conversations with other people and they try to use that tool to disarm you, all they're doing is sparking the torch for you. And then you already have forged the knob so that you can focus it, so you can cut right through that conversation and get to the heart of the issue at hand.
This is you living through your own action movie montage, but for rhetoric and
Yes.
direct action.
Another analogy I like so much.
It's not
a part you're teaching yourself.
It's not uncommon for one of us, when we start having one of these moments, to just go, "Let's get down to business," and start singing that song from Mulan, because we realize what we're doing. This is our battle ready montage. This is where we're running up the steps in Philadelphia. We're hitting the bag. We're doing the training. We may slip. We may fall down. We may say some incredibly stupid things and laugh, because you want to get all those stupid things out in the practice. You want to recognize all the bad ways to frame the argument and everything in private, where you're not making yourself easily take downable, destroyable by the other side. And so it's giving this back and forth, You're going through that montage. You're going through this preparation so that you have the argument ready, so that no matter which facet of the argument, and remember, and this is very important, some people mess up with this because they took debate classes. No one cares about your facts here.
Yeah.
You can learn them. You should know them. You should be able to pull them out if you need them. I'm not saying that kind of prep is not helpful. What is important here is actually rhetoric, not debate. We're not here to logically, through a syllogism, prove to these people see this fact, therefore you are wrong, because human brains don't work that way. We are here to undercut and completely wipe out any momentum that they have through our rhetoric, through the words that we're using, and through the passion that we bring to it. And when you learn that, yes, the facts are important, but also learning ways to undercut the other message is even more important. Learning how to just show that these ideas are silly, that they are stupid, that they are, without saying it, because honestly, you lose footing when you say, oh, that's a dumb argument. And this is where I think the presidential campaign went wrong last year. They were winning with the argument of, isn't that weird? Because you look at the ideas, you look, yeah, that's weird. And then they decided, oh, that's a bit mean. We shouldn't be mean.
Which fueled the opposition rhetoric of they're weak.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do anything for you.
Yep.
And they went, well, yeah, because I can see that they just gave up on their strong position and all they did was cower in the corner and cover themselves.
So that brings me to one of the next part that you need to incorporate into these practice sessions. Be the greatest thief ever. If you're watching a comedian, a speech by Jasmine Crockett or AOC or whoever, if you're watching somebody and they have a really good line, steal it, make it yours. Find a way to say that in your vernacular, because let's be honest, we all sound strange when we talk in a voice that's not naturally ours, right? I don't talk like Jasmine Crockett talks. That's not my natural cadence. That's not my natural vocabulary. And it's not for me to steal her words like that, but I can see the rhetoric that she's using. I can see how she's putting her arguments together that are hitting hard. And I can take those and use those for my own advantage. Steal like crazy. Anytime you see a good argument, an argument that is working, figure out how to work that into your vernacular, how to work that into your just preparedness kit so that you can throw it out there and use it. This is how these ideas evolve, is you start looking at what is actually working. And this is hard. This is the hardest part here, because this is where we go wrong. We often look at this and see the arguments that are working best with the already converted, the people that already agree. Those are great. Those can help boost your ego. Those can make you feel seen. But you know what? They're not moving the needle. And in situations like we're in now, we need to be moving that needle. So you need to be finding the arguments that are making people go, huh, which is why if you can stomach it, it's important to watch things like The View or any of the mainstream media that's out there. Because as much as people want to say they're on the left, The View is as center as it gets. Stephen Colbert is as center as it gets. Seth Meyers and all of those other nighttime comedians, they're as center as you can get. Their job is to hold the center and get as many people to watch their show as possible. They're not going to make an argument outside of the Overton window. So when you see them making a point that seems to be hitting just right, and you can tell when the applause light goes off or when the laugh light goes off in the studio, and when they have to stop telling the joke because the entire audience exploded and erupted naturally, right? These are places that you can go and get this material, because you need to see what is affecting and resonating amongst people outside the bubble that already agrees with you. And this is the problem. We often like to use the arguments that work inside our bubble. We already all agree. We got to get those people in the center to move over. We got to go for those quote unquote independents to move over. And if possible, even get some of the conservatives that aren't into the far right to move over. That's how we're going to win any of these arguments. So you need to be finding those arguments that are hitting over there and figure out how you can utilize them for their maximum effect. This is where something like watching Have I Got Some News for You on CNN can be helpful for this. There are a lot of sources for this. The British version of that show, the original British version of that show, probably if you're in the UK, from what I've seen, they have some of those good one-liners too that can be incorporated into your rhetoric. But learning to take and just steal it if you want to give credit. But in the heat of argumentation, the only time credit matters is when not giving credit is going to be used against you. Don't pretend you made it up. but you don't have to be giving citations like you're writing a thesis, because too many of us act like we're writing a thesis all the time and just appeal to authority. And that's got to stop. You got to act from a place of authority yourself, but steal all the good ideas to make that better.
Think of it like Bruce Lee. I would like to think everybody knows that Bruce Lee was like one of the greatest fighters ever. He was like just masterful, created his own fighting style. Thing was, is he didn't create that out of whole cloth. But as Charlie said, they just tries to steal these ideas. Bruce Lee stole his ideas from a multitude of fighting styles, made it his own.
Yep.
That's how it was created. And that's the same thing. We need to observe all these other bits of rhetoric, incorporate that.
Good artists copy, great artists steal.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old saying, but it's true. Okay. So the next thing that we need to be drawing on, the next thing we need to be practicing is how to be funny. This could be hard. You're not a comedian. You might be a comedian. If you're a comedian, help the rest of us out. Put out some tutorials on how the rest of us can be funny. But try to find out what one-liners make your friends laugh. What one-liners are making other people laugh. How can you punch it up so that you're making things funny? Because evil needs to be seen as scary. If you want to know why when we talk about these folk in power, we do not act afraid, it's because I'm not afraid of them. They're a bunch of puny little children that are up there going and hoping that we're scared by them crying. They're just throwing tantrums. They're just throwing fits. Every time I see Pete Hegseth give an interview, I just see a crying child shaking a rattle and hoping that you're afraid of him. There's nothing scary about these people. Yes, they may have power. Yes, they may be able to send armed people after you, but they themselves are pathetic, weak little people that have fragile egos. And we have to make sure everybody sees them that way. The only way these kinds of people have power is if they're able to make us afraid of them. So don't be afraid of them. And the best way not to be afraid of somebody is to make fun of them, to tell jokes about them. And you can see in reaction to Jasmine Crockett recently, how they are reacting because, okay, was it right what she said? Okay, we can have a discussion about ableism and all that on the side thing. Did what she say make the audience she was talking to laugh and see Governor Abbott as not threatening? Yes. Did she take his power away from him? Yes. Could she have done it better? Yeah, I think we should try not to use misogyny and ableism and all that. I see a lot of people do this with racist things against certain people. There's a lot of ways to go after Marco Rubio without saying any anti-Latino anything. Okay. Try to be better, but you have to make these people silly.
Yeah. And once again, going off that imagery of combat, because this is an intellectual combat, it's remembering, though you are in a street fight, because all of these are basically street fights. So the rules of engagement for boxing, though it is different for the rules of engagement of wrestling, and rules of engagement for kickboxing are different, you're in a street fight. So though everything goes, there's still a decorum and social acceptable maneuvers and unacceptable maneuvers. And so it's kind of part of that thing you got to juggle. Yeah, land a good blow. Sometimes you just need to land that good blow, but you also need to not sacrifice your own moral standing at the same time.
Yeah, you got to be careful and walk the line. But when my daddy taught me how to fight, he was always like, keep your hands up, watch your face, and make sure to go for their feet and their groin. Yeah. The whole point of throwing fists was to distract them so that you can get them on the ground and kick them till they relent, till they give in. That's how I was taught how to fight. And there's no way to get somebody to the ground faster than kneeing them in the groin.
Yeah.
Throwing hands was a distraction maneuver. That's how I was taught how to fight. And look, low blow, yeah, they're not graceful. They're not good. And we need to be careful when and how we use them. But sometimes it's what's there. Do I think that you should be making jokes about people's weight? No, I do not. As a person who is overweight myself, I do bristle at them. Is it fair game when talking about the president? It gets under his skin in a way that shows him as the crying child that he is. Yeah. Every time they show that picture of him in the tennis outfit, he goes a little crazy. He's really mad at Colorado right now because they put a painting of him up that actually looks like him and didn't make him prettier. Some people are so fragile about their appearance that the best way to knock them off kilter is to go after their appearance. Does going after his appearance do anything to help you gather troops to stand up against him? Probably not. And that's where you got to be careful with how you are using this. I think crying Donnie is the way to go with him, because I don't understand how everybody doesn't see him as a toddler in a diaper. Like, he's the baby from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He thinks he's tough. He thinks he's all this, but you just pull out a popsicle and distract him and move him off to the side, right? And getting people to see him as the crying child that he is, to me, the way that you go for it. But that's just me, right? You have to make these people ridiculous. You have to find ways to make it funny. That's why the weird line worked, and why they should not have stopped using the weird line. These people are weird.
Yeah.
People are weird. Why do you have your son monitoring whether or not you're watching naughty videos on your phone? That's weird. Your child should not be thinking about what you do with your private bits. That's weird that you want your child thinking about that. Mike Johnson, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? That is so weird. And that is fair game. He's the one that brought it up. He's the one that did ads for that company. He said, this is a good idea. It's fair game. But you also have to find ways to be funny about it. If you can make your opponent laugh, you are winning.
This is why Meatball Ron was such a decisive and destructive blow that Trump landed at Ron DeSantis. And it totally destroyed him. It was a brilliant finishing shot because it's funny, and it also brings up all the other stuff and hits all his insecurities at the same time.
And that's why I've won several arguments about Florida by invoking an extremely old, at this point, meme of just going, those boots, though.
Yep, those boots.
Because you immediately get an image of Ron DeSantis in those shoes. And yeah, I get it. It's an old meme going back to Daniel and his shoes. I get it. But to a lot of people, that image comes into their mind, and it's a funny image. There's no non-funny images of Ron DeSantis in the boots. There's no not funny image of that. You make people laugh. Laughter is one of the greatest weapons that we have. This is what George Carlin taught us. This is what Will Rogers taught us. This is what a lot of the great rhetoricians of our world taught us. Lincoln was known for his dirty jokes, that when things got too tense in discussions with the other side, he would just stop what he was saying and tell a dirty joke, because it's hard to hate someone you find funny. It's really hard to hate somebody that you find funny.
Yeah. When practicing this, as somebody who started out chronically not funny in my life, the most powerful tool I found was first just accepting that fact about myself, living in right relationship with that fact, just going, hey, I am chronically not funny. And then getting up and swinging that bat, going off the baseball analogy, I might have been facing out into the crowd, trying to swing at a ball coming at me with my back turned to it even. And I miss a lot. Though I may miss the jokes a lot, I accepted the fact that I'm not funny and practiced. I'm not afraid to laugh at myself and not afraid to bomb. Because that's the thing is, unless you're naturally funny, and there are very few of us that are naturally funny, it's just a fact that a lot of us have to accept. There's very few of us with that woven in and with our fate. But we can practice. We can learn how to be funny. We can learn the moments. We can learn timing. Because even those that are gifted with comedy and as part of their fate at the beginning, they still have to learn timing and delivery and all those other aspects of it. And that all comes from practice. So don't be afraid. Accept that you're not funny, and don't be afraid to tell a joke or to try to be funny.
But this is also where you practice what we talked about previously and learn the art of stealing.
Yeah.
When you hear a good joke, when you see a good political meme, when you've learned to put that into practice. And that's why I think the most important thing that we've said here, other than the don't react to people, just have yourself practice so that you can just go through and say the things that you need to say, and just have a very water off the duck's back attitude to the entire exchange. Because again, nothing unnerves people more than when they cannot get you off foot, when they cannot shake you. When you appear to be unshakable, that unnerves people. A lot of modern arguments are lost when they find a way to get under your skin. And I'm not perfect about it, and I don't know if anybody who's perfect about it, but getting yourself to a place where it's really hard to get you to that point where you lose control is vital. But steal, be funny, go after people. This is the art of righteous anger. This is how you make it into something that can really change the world. Because you know what? The protest signs that work, yes, sometimes it's the ones that just shock you to your core when you see them. But the ones that resonate with people and that people bring back up are the ones that you see and they make you laugh.
To support Charlie's position there, just for a quick moment, the minute you said that, I've looked at a lot of protest signs on the news and stuff over the last couple weeks. The first one that popped into my head, the only one I could reference, was the one with the guy going, I should be getting high right now instead of having to waste my Saturday protesting this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's funny, and it cuts to the point.
Humor goes into a different place in our brain. And remember, whatever you don't make them look big, bad, or scary. We are on the back foot right now because too many people that claim to be trying to help us are trying to make these people look big, bad, and scary. We need to see them for what they are. They're incompetent, goofy monsters. Think about this like Monsters, Inc. We're all boo, all of us. And they're trying to sneak into our room and scare us. And you just need to poke them in the nose and go, wink. Because honestly, they are more scared of us than we are of them. And we need to make sure that we are showing that in everything we do. They need to be seen as scary to have power. That's why protest works. Large protests that do not stop, large sustained protest shows we are not afraid of you. You actually have no power here. And that's what we have to keep up. That's why it's very dangerous seeing these law firms capitulating like they are. That's why it's very dangerous seeing people like Joyanne Reed being taken off TV because she was one of the few people on mainstream television speaking truth to power. When you capitulate, they're not scary. They're really sad little boys that need to be put in their place. And let's treat them like that. All right. I hope that this episode has helped you out. If it has, don't forget, like and subscribe if you haven't already. But also let me know your tactics for dealing with this sort of thing. There's a lot of this going on around the world right now, and it's good to know that our misfortune seems to be helping out a lot of countries around the world where their far right is receding because of their connection to the evil people in charge of our country. But I know a lot of people are fighting against this right now and are trying to stand strong. If you have any tactics, let us know. Remember, we are all about the nonviolence here because once you give into violence, you give them a tool to use against you to make that center group go, well, I guess they are the bad guys after all. That's why we embrace nonviolence. It's not just a philosophical thing. It is a tactical thing that keeps them from being able to easily vilify us. So anything that's not nonviolent is going to be removed from the comments. But anything other than that you want to share, put them down in the comments. I would love to know how you are pushing back and using your righteous anger to make a difference in this world. If you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or CreationsPaths.com, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if it says you can leave a comment, they will not notify us. So leave a comment there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to CreationsPaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a message there. While you're there, if you happen to have a few dollars you can pass our way, we offer monthly and annual memberships. You can also support us through Patreon and Ko-fi. I am CE Dorset on both. And you can support us through the Cash App, #, CreationsPaths. Thank you so much to everybody who does that. You help us to keep the lights on, keep food on the table, and a roof over our heads. If you don't have any money right now, or if you're not sure that we're the kind of people that you want to give your hard-earned money to, I completely understand that. But if we've ever done anything that's helped you out or you think will help others out, please share it. That helps us out more than you know. All right. Before we run away into the darkness, we like to say a prayer at the end of these episodes. And I want to remind you all that you can pray to anything that is true in this world and anything that gives you strength. So I want to say a specific prayer to Justice herself. Come and stand with us and teach us your righteous ways. Teach us the ways to bring you fully and truly into this world through humor, through strength, and through standing arm in arm with each other so that we can cast the darkness back into the shadows where it belongs. Light is strong and cannot be overcome, and you will always, in the end, prevail. Amen.
Amen.